Thanks.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Security Unlocked, a new podcast from Microsoft focusing on artificial intelligence and machine learning and security. Check out the links down in the description below.
I like how you moved the logo over so you can see it past your big head. Sorry. How you doing?
Fine until then.
A little punchy because of all the snow.
A little cabin fever, something.
I got out yesterday. It was nice.
What, did you build Frosty?
No, I went to the gym, but
See, you didn't need to go to the gym. You could have just shoveled snow and killed yourself.
wow.
I
I said something. How did this? We were talking about retirement stuff, and I said to my wife, "I'm like the most ideal outcome for all of us would be that I hit retirement age, start collecting Social Security, and die like the next day." And then she goes, there's a lot of snow out there that's not going to shovel itself.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a serious thing. Like, people will shovel snow and have heart attacks, and that's it. Like, that's
of course. No, that happened to my Uncle Wayne a few years ago. Maybe several years ago now. We were still in Boston, but yeah, 2015. It was that horrible storm that destroyed half my house. We had to replace our roof and all our windows, actually. So yeah, my Uncle Wayne, unfortunately, passed away. But I sort of appreciate the family dynamic because we're literally at his funeral. And I was talking to my other uncle, George, who was his brother. And I said, we're getting destroyed with snow. And of course, now you can't find snow blowers anymore because this year we had like over 6 feet of snow on the ground. And he owns a hardware store. So he's like, yeah, he goes, those things those won't be in stock until August, and I'm like, oh, yeah. Great. And he goes, who has a brand new snowblower though? I'm like, who? And he goes, Uncle Wayne. And I'm like, and he goes, well, he doesn't need it. He goes, if you want, we can run over and grab it now. And I'm like, I am literally not stealing a dead man's snowblower. That is crazy.
There's some sort of curse on that thing.
Yeah. Anyway, that's some good family stuff right there, I would say.
Microsoft is launching Viva today. It's not in Las Vegas, like Elvis would like you to believe.
Oh, sorry. Yes. And it's also not Viva Pinata, which is what I should have used.
I know. I thought about using that. That should have been
the Xbox game. I think Xbox 360, right?
Yeah. Wasn't it a Kinect thing? Like you were supposed to smack the pinata with Kinect?
That could be. I didn't play it, so yeah, that makes sense. It would be a Kinect thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
So this is new paint on an existing product, I think. It's a new, they call it employee experience platform, and it's supposed to bring a whole bunch of stuff together. And of course, it's being shoved into Teams. But it's really just it's really like a conglomerate of SharePoint, Stream,
the graph. I mean, it's all kinds of things. Yeah, as you read through the description of each piece, you're like, oh, that sounds like a thing we knew about.
Yeah, really they're bundling up a bunch of services and kind of quote unquote doing something
that's
new.
Fine, right?
Yeah,
because
no problem with it.
The world has changed. More and more people are working from home. There needs to be a way to reach these people at home in the same way that we might have in the office, where in the past maybe walked into a doorway and said, "Hey, we have a training seminar you got to go to," or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I think the best way I can describe it is that it's the intranet, but now in Teams.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's what it is, right?
Right. That's.
I mean, it's the intranet reborn. That's quite literally how I titled it. So, I hope that's accurate. Anyways, it's starting to roll out somewhat today, and then there's modules that will roll out over the year, and that's going to be Microsoft's new kind of jam.
This is Microsoft 365 commercial, right? I should have specified that in my own write-up about this, but it should be obvious, right? This is for workplaces. It's not going to show up in Microsoft 365 family, at least not this year.
Yeah, no, I mean,
but anyway,
our internet's a corkboard on our garage, like the door going into our garage, right?
Right.
So, I mean, they're making a big deal out of it, and I guess they should. There's
onboarding stuff. There's learning, insights. It's all, and then there's all the dashboardy stuff that you get as an executive or a leader or an employee, and different access from different devices and different types of employees and so forth.
Mm-hmm. So you can be looking out for that to pop up in your Teams, maybe.
Here's what's interesting about this to me is I guess they didn't want to wait on this, right? it was almost a year ago this March, where Jared Spataro was talking about the new way of work and how this is changing everything forever. It's not temporary. And this in some ways is like the culmination of work they must have been starting to think about at that time, like, how do we make this work?
Yeah.
And they wanted to get it out as soon as they could. So there's a component of this that is literally generally available today, one of the 4 components. And then the other, 2 of the others are in some kind of a preview. But maybe that was why now. But when you think about it, in less than 2 months, or in about 2 months, there's going to be a second Ignite. And normally you would think, well, this might be the ideal time to announce something like this, but maybe they have a lot more to announce too. So.
Yeah. Or like one of the things I actually asked Microsoft for, and I didn't quite get, was like, do you have any like developer documentation? Like how does, like, if we use Teams and we have probably, I would assume the right license. I don't know if we do or not, but like, let's say we wanted to build one, like how do I go out and build a Viva or whatever, a module?
Like a Viva component of some kind, because it does work with third-party components. But I bet the answer to that is that those interfaces already exist, and that Viva is simply what you just said up front, which is kind of a repackaging or a rebranding of existing things and an expansion of capabilities for sure. But as far as the model for building into it, I'm sure what they're going to say to you is just build it to work with the graph.
Yeah, they're probably going to say, like, go build a SharePoint home site, and then like, hey, look, you can bring that in or whatever. So I'm wondering if Ignite, they want to get this stuff out now, so then at Ignite they can have like a bunch of sessions on how to specifically build these things out. I bet that's part of it.
Will be available generally by that point as well.
Yeah, that would be my guess. We'll see. See what happens. So, unlike the day before, not a whole lot. Qualcomm had good earnings. Not all that surprising. I mean, I guess. Bunch.
Yeah. Right. The primary mobile platform maker did well during a pandemic. I mean, so I guess not as well as some thought. Apparently their stock kind of took a bit of a hit last night for some reason. But I mean, to me, the year-over-year comparables are unbelievable, except that we've been dealing with those kinds of numbers for the past 2 weeks. So I guess it's not unbelievable, but it is what one might expect, I guess, of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean that's you're either kind of blowing it out of the park, it feels like, on earnings, or you're not by a wide margin. So
or a Slack or a Surface.
What?
Surface, same thing. So Surface should have had a $3 billion quarter.
Oh.
See.
2 billion, 3 billion.
Well, that's the Qualcomm right there. It's like, oh, they did better than they ever did. It's like, right. But it's still like 1/4 the size of Mac. Like,
yeah, well, that's never gonna.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not with that attitude, it's not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, until the conversation is that Snapdragon, pick your number, is comparable to whatever Apple's doing. Well, I guess I don't know if that even ever matters, because Apple's never going to license that stuff. So,
right. Yeah, and Qualcomm, of course, a big chunk of their earnings is from licensing.
Yeah. Unless they, I think Qualcomm's biggest threat is probably a company like Nvidia or maybe even Samsung just developing their own ARM chip that's comparable.
Right. Yeah. Wouldn't that be something? Someone shows up and pulls an Intel on them and does what they're doing, but better.
Yeah. I mean, we know that it's possible Apple's doing it. So in Nvidia would be, that's where I would put my money. The question is, like, Android is now so tailored for,
because they'll own ARM, right? I mean,
yeah.
Do we expect the chipset maker to compete with the licensees? I guess licensees.
It's a good question.
I don't know. I think they've certainly pledged to keep the platform open. I suppose they can make their own.
Well, they already do make their. I mean, I think they'd be crazy not to make their own. They already.
Well, I mean, general purpose, like mobile chipsets or IoT chipsets or whatever. I don't know. It'd be a weird stepping on the toes of its partners.
Yeah, Microsoft.
I mean, who would ever do such a thing? It'd be like Microsoft making these.
Yeah, it would never happen. Never.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So, anyways, today's podcast was brought to you by Security Unlocked. You can find links down in the description below or go directly to the site at securityunlockedpodcast.com. Hit the play button, hit the subscribe button, or tune in tomorrow because tomorrow is Thursday or Friday, right? That means it's a live show. Live show.
Oh.